Hello to the future. Gabriel Saint here. I'm a director, artist, writer working out of Los Angeles, California. And today we're with Derek DeNicola and we're having a conversation with Squeekah. Squeekah, if you want to introduce yourself.
I'm Squeekah. I am a variety gamer over on Twitch. I've been streaming for 6 months, but it's been going really well. I play indie story-based games and cute long-form games like Hello Kitty Island Adventure, because why not?
Very cool. And we have Rose in the chat currently, and as people pop in, we'll see if we can get some questions. But Rose, if you have any questions for Squeekah, right off, she's a gamer and she's also an actor, right? She has a bachelor's in acting.
Bachelor of Fine Arts.
Oh,
Yes,
so
yeah,
sorry.
I worked very hard for that F, so
It's important.
it's important.
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting. So we were just talking about how you just started. You were streaming in the evenings, and you were liking it, so you decided to stream in the mornings, and now you're streaming in the morning and in the evening.
Yeah, I stream 6 times a week, which is a choice. But I kind of have this mentality right now that if I treat it like a job, then it will maybe one day become a job, you know? But like not in a bad way job. Like I don't want to treat it as like a bad job like I've only ever experienced before. Treat it like
You mean like
I want it to
labor?
be. Like labor, yeah.
Well, I've been streaming for about 3 months. I guess how long did you say? 3 months?
6 months
6
for
months?
me, 6, 7 almost. Yeah.
That started like right around the beginning of the year, and like started streaming like in the evening times. And like my thing is like I was like I'm not gonna take this too seriously.
Yeah.
Just gonna keep it loose. I'm just gonna, and then meanwhile like I'm just gonna set up a little light here, and then maybe I'll use my nice camera, and then you know what, I'm gonna write a script. You know, I'm gonna have a full plan, and then
Yeah.
before you know it, it's like okay, I got a full week of like ideas for like what I'm gonna stream. And I was like, oh, you're supposed to be being relaxed about it, but like I like take everything very like in like with artistic integrity.
Oh yeah, because it's your product and your name's behind it, and you want to show people the best version of it.
And there's part of Twitch that's like, hey, kind of knock that off, Gabe, and just like chat with us about what's going on, because we're already here for that, you know. And that's a new thing. Like, hey guys, I got a couple of these ideas that I kind of want to do on stream. Which one of y'all do y'all want to do? And they're like, we're not here to make decisions for you.
Yeah, isn't that funny? I'm like, wait, what do you mean?
Yeah, they're like, just do what you want to do.
You just want to watch me make decisions? Fine.
Do you feel like you have to become yourself faster? Find out who you are faster?
I think, you know what? I think it's kind of like we were talking about before, where you think you have to put the energy into finding community, but it comes to you. It's almost the same way with that question. It's like you actually don't have to actively try to find yourself faster with what you're putting yourself through. It kind of forces you to find yourself. Does that make sense?
One
Like
thing-
it's more passive.
One
It comes
thing
to
like
you.
people would say was like, hey, what would y'all want to do here? You know, I come up with these ideas like tier listing. I do these like speed portraits where I can draw a portrait in like 30 seconds. And I like, do y'all want to see speed portraits? And most of the answers would be something like, just do what you're doing already. Just do what you're doing at this time of the day.
Right.
And just talk to us while you're doing it. I'm like, what am I doing
I think
at this time of day? You know what I
That
mean?
would be my question. If somebody, I would be like, well, who am
right.
I?
Who am I? But it's I think a lot of that comes from insecurity, right? Because I ask myself all the time, what's going to make people want to watch me specifically? There are like hundreds of thousands of streamers, and in fact, I believe, I'm not going to say a statistic because I'm bad at numbers, but I believe last year there was like the most increase of new Twitch streamers, or like it was one of the records of new Twitch streamers. And you hear a statistic like that and you think, okay, so why are people watching me specifically? And so I think it's kind of that thing. It's like, you know, like I have to perform for these people and I have to make sure that I'm showing the best version of myself to these people. And honestly, I think the biggest thing you can do is be consistent. Like actually more than anything else, consistency, because I've seen a lot of streamers come and go, even in my 6 months, who were doing really well, but they just got in their head about it. They got imposter syndrome. Why are people watching me? They kind of started fear being perceived in whatever way, and they stopped streaming. And I think that was like, and then they will maybe pick it up one day and then, you know, not. And I think having a consistent schedule, because I think people like to have us on as background. They like to lurk while they're doing their job, or, you know, while they're doing a puzzle, or that's how I like to view my audience.
And sometimes people like to be seen. Like I've talked to maybe Derek about like the linear, where you used to have to go to a theater to watch human beings act on a stage, and then like go to a theater to watch a screen, and then like you could watch a movie on home on broadcast, but you'd have to be home at that right time to watch your show.
Yeah.
And then you got to where, okay, I got DVR and I could record it, I could play it back, so that's a little more convenient. And then it's like, well, I could watch YouTube anytime I want. Like I can watch it a million times at any time of day. And now with Twitch, it's like, I want to tell you how to entertain
It
me.
feels a little bit more like cable, doesn't it?
Well, it's
So, like
almost-
your person's on at a specific time, and then maybe there's ad breaks, and you know what I mean?
If you could watch cable and
Talk to your character.
ask them to do a little less of this and a little more of that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
could you
yeah.
imagine talking to the weatherman and being like, hey man, can you move to the right a little bit? And also like,
Yeah,
you're sick of hearing about the weather.
Yeah, get,
or
get
whatever.
to the
you know?
precipitation forecast. Yeah, okay.
And it's like that following, like the audiences like need to have like control over what entertainment they get and when they get it.
Yeah.
You know?
You know, it's so funny because I kind of had a different experience than you when I started. Well, sort of. I never went in with the idea that I was going to be called started. I was like, I'm going to have this perfect brand and I'm going to start a TikTok and I'm going to be sponsored and it's going to be great and I'm going to be famous. I don't know. I just get really excited about ideas and then I just deep dive into them. And I was doing a lot of research and a lot of like, here's how to get successful on Twitch or whatever.
I did the same
YouTube
thing.
videos. We all watch the same
I
one.
do so much research on everything all the time now.
But I remember specifically watching one video that was like, something that you need to remember is that people are there for the game, they're not there for you. And I was like, okay, so like just go in with that mindset that they're not here for me, they're here for the game, and that's okay. It takes pressure off of me, right? I've actually found the exact opposite to be true.
I think that's what I was having a dissonance just now.
People are
I
there
watch-
for me
I wa-
100%, which
I
is
watch-
crazy to me.
I am not into tennis shoes. I'm not into collecting tennis shoes. I don't like modern shoes. I don't like anything about the sneakers. But there's this guy who does this sneaker YouTube video, and I always watch his videos.
Because you like him.
I
There's
don't even
something
know.
about
I don't know
him.
why.
I don't know.
I don't know what it is. It's the production, or it's consistency, or it's just seeing who he is. And it's not like a person I would hang out with. It's like I don't feel a lot of identifying factors with him. But for some reason, like I just appreciate that he's just doing his thing,
Doing his thing.
and he's like really being himself the whole
passionate
time.
about it.
And I'm like, that's kind of soothing to let roll. You know what I mean?
Did you have a streamer that you would follow or a channel that you would watch that made you say like, oh, I can do this?
Actually, yeah. So not on Twitch, which is funny because I basically started off with Twitch with never being on Twitch before, which I do not recommend. So I didn't know what a hype train was. I didn't know what bits were. I didn't know what channel points were. Like I knew nothing.
I don't know what any of that stuff is.
Great.
Yeah, I
perfect.
still don't know either. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but like you get kind of ingrained into the culture. It's at some point. She would stream on Twitch, but then she would put her videos on YouTube, and that's how I was watching it. So I was watching a very edited down version of her streams, and I would watch her play games that I like to play now, which are like Nancy Drew games, like kind of old-fashioned, maybe not the best game of the year games, but they're fun puzzly games, and they make you think. You can check out, check back in, and just very cozy for me, but like stimulating, but not.
Did you play games a lot before you started streaming?
That's an interesting question. I'm learning a lot about myself through the games that I like to play, but unfortunately, I grew up in a very gamey culture. In fact, it was my parents who pushed me to be a Twitch streamer, which is a very unique experience. I know.
People do that? Do parents do that? That's cool. Your parents seem very cool.
They are very cool. It's actually really annoying because my friends meet them and they're like, oh, first of all, yes, everything about you makes sense now. You are very much a product of your parents. And secondly, your parents are so cool and I want to hang out with them. And I'm like, cool, well, okay.
So I have a question from Rose, and she says she's got a couple questions. She says, what is your favorite style of gaming? Number one, we're kind of getting into that. Number two, she says, do you have a favorite game that you love to stream? And then she also says, how do you get started as a streamer?
Ooh, those are all very good questions.
I gotta take them one at a time.
Okay, so the first one was like, what's your favorite style?
What's my favorite style of game? My favorite style of game since I've started streaming has been, wow. Like I said, narrative story games, typically that have a puzzle aspect to them. There's a game I finished called Inscription. And at first play, it's kind of like an escape room meets card game, but it's kind of scary. And then you kind of discover these plots and twists in the story and the world and stuff like that's really fun, kind of puzzly game, but also there's an overarching story to
What was
them.
the name of that game?
Inscription.
Is that your favorite one?
It's one of the favorite games I've.
Oh, with an I.
Yeah, yeah, it's really cool.
very
It's kind of Blair Witch Project-y.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, where like you kind of come outside of the game and you're like an actual person playing the game. It like breaks the fourth wall. Oh, it's so fun.
See, I would not have, like, right off the bat, I see it's kind of like on the darker side. I wouldn't have thought that, like, a pleasant, bubbly person,
Oh,
like, yeah.
I'm like obsessed with creepy dark things.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
You came to the right live stream.
Yeah, you're on the right line.
Tim Burton, like, I love claymation. I love Tim Burton. My favorite movie of all time basically is Coraline. I just love that like creepy but cute kind of aesthetic. I've always been very drawn to it. And that's why my like little logo person is Over the Garden Wall, which I don't know if you guys have heard of, but it's also kind of like a creepy, cute miniseries that was on Cartoon Network.
Well, I don't know if you've seen any of the films that Derek and I have produced, but they're
Yeah, the
horror
creepier side, yeah.
films. They're like basic like 5 people in a stabby monster kind of situation.
I love that.
But
What was the next question?
so she asked what your favorite style of gaming is, and then maybe a particular game. I think we kind of covered that.
Question was really good.
And then we were talking about. She was saying, "How did you start as a streamer?" And we talked a little bit about how.
Yeah, my parents. Yeah, that's right. So my parents were the ones that influenced me to get
She says,
started.
"Yes, Tim Burton."
Yes, my people. Yeah, my parents were definitely the ones that pushed me to get started, which was a really, really cool thing. And they've been really big supporters. So even when I didn't have many viewers, my parents were always in there, which made me feel like I
That's
wasn't,
intense.
which made me really feel like I
How
wasn't,
cool and supportive.
yeah, like I wasn't alone. So I never had to worry about talking to myself, which is nice.
And the fact that
That's so cool.
my parents would not know how to log on to the internet, like, much less find me on Twitch. And,
Yeah. I
Yeah.
have quite literally the coolest parents ever. So
Can I ask about parents? What do they do? Like, why are they so cool? What do they do?
they're neurodivergent as well. I always play games. Oh, that was why thank you. That brought me back to why I mentioned it in the first place. My dad's always been super into gaming. I grew up. He was always playing World of Warcraft, and if I was lucky, he would tell his buddies, "Hey, my 8-year-old daughter is going to play with us today. Cool it down." And then he would let me go on, and she would tell me what buttons to press, and I'd be so excited. And I would love to see I would wish he was streaming, because I would have loved to have seen that footage of me just like dinkily walking behind him. That's a word, dinkily. Don't
Yeah,
question
totally.
it. But I mostly grew up playing like Super Monkey Ball, Super Mario Bros. I had a Game Boy SP, but I was very self-conscious about my gaming ability. And I have a brother who's 10 years younger than me, loved gaming. But gaming was something I just did with like my one very close friend growing up. We both had DSs, and we had sleepovers, and we'd stay up all night, and I had a GameCube, and we'd play that. But then when I got older, I would say like middle school, late middle school, high school, it wasn't something that was cool, like gaming, and I didn't want to not be cool, I just want to put it out there, I was very much not cool, but I really wanted to be cool. So I was like, I couldn't find a common ground with the people in my life. Like the cool girls I wanted to be friends with, they didn't play video games. Like, well, what? That's for boys. And so I really let that part of myself die, honestly. And then when I started...
Not to be dramatic.
Not to be dramatic or anything.
That fine arts degree paying
Right.
off.
Exactly. That's the F in the BFA that's coming out. So then when I started having boyfriends, they really loved that I knew anything about games and that I enjoyed gaming. But it kind of, again, I was self-conscious about my gaming, and I'd put it down for so long that I would let them take control. So I loved watching games. So I almost kind of grew up as like a viewer of streamers, but just like in real life. Like I would want to experience these games, so I would just have my boyfriends take over the controller, because I was like, I don't want them to watch me fumble, and that's embarrassing. And I was just so self-conscious. So I experienced a lot of games. I watched my partners play a lot of games, but I never felt comfortable picking up the controller, really, until like a couple of years ago. basically. And then mostly when I've started streaming, like I really think that the first game I streamed was basically the first like game I played completely on my own, like start to finish. No one took over the controller. Like I played that game, and that was really weird to have gamed my whole life, and that was like the first game I really
Which game was
played.
it?
It was called Amori.
More.
Amori, yes, it is. If you've ever heard of Undertale, it's very similar. It's got a lot of inspiration from it, but it's a very pixely, cute RPG Maker game. But it gets really dark. Again, it's like very dark undertones about a boy who's dealing with it. Very good. Yeah.
Do you want to bomb it into the Discord?
Yes. It's very good. I cannot recommend it enough.
So what I'd like to talk about quick, two things about what you're saying is, number one, what we like to talk about here is the self-expression part that comes from art or performance or streaming or even gaming. That like some of it I'm like, I've always strived my whole life to be an artist and to show people my talents or what I'm passionate about. And when I started streaming, I thought of it as like a way to promote those things. And not those things necessarily. Does that make sense? Same thing with the YouTube channel. It's like, this is a way, these are commercials to promote my art, you know, but this is not necessarily the art. And like, the more I go through it, I realize like there is an art to the streaming. There's a performance there, and there's also like self-expression. Like the way you're talking about, this is the first game I played from top to bottom. And first time I played it was on stream. And it's weird to look at my life and think, I never played a game, and like that kind of realization about your self-expression. And like, I expressed a little bit about who I am today by finishing this game on a stream in front of an audience. It's such a strange, like, epiphany, I think, for me, you know?
Yeah. So
And I hear you kind of touching on it.
So when I first wanted to start streaming, when I first considered streaming, because my parents, again, had kind of been like, you should stream. You're funny and you talk to yourself anyways and you play games, so just do it. I actually wanted to do what I would call the kind of category of co-working, because I was trying to learn a new skill, which was coding. And I thought, what if I can set aside 2 hours of time, create like a cozy environment, keep people like accountable for studying with me, and people love to do this, and it's really cool, and that's what I wanted to start off with. Because as much as I would have in the time I was thinking this, as much as I would love to do Twitch streaming as a gamer, I can't game. I suck at gaming, in fact. Something that I love, and I'm passionate about the industry, but I suck at it. So that would be super embarrassing to do as I push up my glasses. And I think a lot of the streamers that I had seen were people that had been doing it for a long time. They were really good at it. They're doing challenges, and you know, they had thousands of viewers. And my parents were like, that's actually a very silly thing to say, because some of my favorite streamers are people who struggle with it. They're not the best gamers, but that's like the fun of it. That's where the community and the comedy and whatever of it comes in. And if you have humility about it, like that's what people enjoy watching, is the struggle and the learning and the
winning, or that's
supporting you in whatever way.
It's like another thing I've learned about when streaming that you're kind of touching on right now is that these people are peers. You don't have to teach them necessarily or talk down to them, or like they want to go through it with you. Like let's all figure out something that we can learn together. So it's like we're all on the same level here. Whatever it is, let's learn as a team. And some people may know a little bit about other things than other people, but I feel like everything is like, oh wow, everybody learned something. And that's what I think is fun. Is like, it's like a class, except you're not the teacher. You're just
kind of opening the discussion, opening the forum.
Yeah.
That's why I like puzzle games, because I enjoy them already by myself, but then it kind of creates a way for everyone to play with me and be like, oh, I think maybe you can go here and check this code here. And it becomes a discussion. It becomes like we're playing together versus you're watching me play a game. And I really enjoy that aspect of like, let's all play this thing together. And I get most uncomfortable in my streams when I feel like no one's participating and they're just watching me. And I love the participation aspect.
And there's something else. There was two things when you were kind of talking about how you were getting into streaming, and the other thing was like realizing that there have been streamers around me that you know what I mean? Like I've been watching people play games my whole life, and they're like, why do I think it's such a a different thing to have other people watch me play games or watch people
Right.
stream.
I love watching people play games.
I before I kind of like understood with Twitch how it worked and everything, like you were saying, like some people they'll edit their streams down to YouTube videos.
Yeah.
We did the same thing here.
It's so much work. Oh my God, I tried to do that. It's so much work.
Oh man, I have to show you. There's some cheat codes to it now. But like watching my favorite YouTube videos and realizing, wait, is this a stream?
The stream.
Yeah, I'm like, holy shit, half of these videos that are my favorite YouTubes are actually just edited downstream. And I didn't even realize it. I'm like, oh my gosh. And it like clicked with me where it's like, oh, I need to go ahead and start
Yeah.
streaming because these people, like this guy is me. It's like, this is an artist and I like his work and he's talking about art and philosophy and he seems like a very smart, intelligent guy and he's promoting his other work. And I'm like, is he talking to a chat right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Can I ask you a question about
No.
this podcast? Fine.
Yes.
Just how, because you're fairly new to Twitch, is this like, did you have any other platforms for the podcast before? And do you have any like social media that you tend to post your clips on? Or like, what's the social media kind of platforms that you guys run off of?
Well, the way we started was like distribution focused. Like we were producing films. And when we got to our most recent film, like we didn't really love the kind of relationship with distribution, and no ill will towards our distribution if you're watching, thank you. It's just like the whole game of distribution. Even before we got distribution deals, people that were mentors to us were saying, hey, even good distribution deals are bad.
Yeah.
That's the same thing they say about record deals, So we self-produced and released two indie films. Both got into film festivals, both got into distribution deals, one of which won a couple of awards.
Which is awesome.
And then when we got to our third one, we were like, hey, let's not give this one to distribution because we don't kind of love the deals we had.
Yeah.
And I've been saying for years, I want to make a YouTube channel just because I'm in love with YouTube. I've always liked YouTube for some
Yeah.
reason. And it's kind of like, no, Gabe, we make films, we make films, and that's what we did. We've been making films. And at some point it was like, we took a year to worry about financing and business structure and tax credits so that when we are creating films and stories that they're complete projects and not, here's a script I wrote that I could shoot in this room.
Right.
In that process, we're not shooting for a year, and it's like, what do we do with this film? And I had to come up with a bunch of different options. And I was like, if we put something on YouTube, I can see how many numbers it gets in real
There's
time.
a lot of things you can see behind the scenes in YouTube. It's kind of
And
crazy.
you don't get any of that.
So many analytics.
You get almost none of that in distribution,
Yeah.
right? So the idea was like, well, let me just start putting some stuff on a YouTube channel and see what the analytics look like and see how much I follow it, see how, and as I start, and I've already been a premium member of YouTube. They don't have the ads or whatever.
Nice.
I love
that.
YouTube.
Same. I also.
So I started a series of speed drawings and just kind of a little bit of how you do these speed drawings, and it'd be like 5 minutes. And I did like a bulk of them, and I started releasing one a week and started gaining subscribers. And then I started running the Twitch streams in order to promote the YouTube channel. And all of that was really just a way to kind of see how the analytics work versus distribution deals, so I could show it to Derek and be like, see, this is cool, we can do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then from there it was like, before we were doing that, I had knocked around the idea of doing a documentary series where we interview people about where creativity comes from. And it's something I've been thinking about for years, for a long time. And as we did the YouTube channel, and we have like these large scale feature films that we're working on, all the way down to these like 5-minute YouTube videos. And it was like, hey, what if we did this documentary series for YouTube? And at some point, Derek was like, hey man, I think it's just a podcast.
You're like, this is what you're explaining?
And I was like, it's not a podcast, but we can start there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, not only that, this isn't a podcast, this is a Twitch stream, or this is gonna be edited down for my YouTube channel or whatever. But sure enough, when I'm in my YouTube channel to open up the playlist, it's like, You sure this isn't a podcast? I guess it is. It's a podcast.
This like quacks like a duck.
Yeah, so that's kind of, it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to do a podcast and I got this angle. It was just like kind of trying to find the path of least resistance, you know, and like trying to find a balance between what my heart wants to do as an artist and like what society in 2025 expects of an artist. You know what I mean? And then finding that compromise, you know what I mean? And I think that's always been, I think, part of art, you know?
I think it's been really increased by social media because I like just even as a woman, even as a woman, like with an Instagram before I even started Twitch streaming. Sorry, my grandpa's coming out here right now. I always noticed that the posts that got the most views, most attention were the ones of my face. And the ones where I'd post like my art because I love to paint or, you know, whatever, it's something that I was interested in would get no interaction. And that always drove me crazy. And to try and bring an audience to my Twitch, I decided to start doing TikTok. And it's almost like the content that I put the most energy into, and that's mostly about things I like to do, doesn't do as well as me like using a funny voice, like voiceover and just lip syncing to it. And I always run into this. It's like, I'm grateful that I'm bringing people to my channel and then they'll have to see the other stuff that I'm doing. But it does always hurt a little bit to be reminded all the time.
Yeah,
What do people really care about here?
It's
you know?
two words I need to be careful using when I talk about YouTube, or when I started, was embarrassed and depressing.
Yeah.
Like, as an artist, it's depressing that I have to make a YouTube channel to promote my art. Like, I'm a fine artist. I used to sell fine art in New Orleans, Louisiana, damn it. And it's like, but it's not embarrassing.
But it's not embarrassing, and it's like
the more I've done it, the more I've found it being fulfilling, and like fulfilling in a way that sometimes my traditional form of art has not been. Like the community. Usually if I want to paint a picture, I have to sit, and if I have to paint 1,000 pictures a year, I'm alone the entire year. If I'm a Twitch streamer who paints 1,000 pictures a year, I have a huge community of
and
people.
you're making friends while you do it.
Yeah, like, and I think that's such an important part of kind of the community that's not depressing or embarrassing.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? But I do think that was
But
my
to be
first
cringe is to be free, so let's remember that too.
Sure. And I think that's what it is. I think, you know, that's like, oh, it's so cringe to start anything because nobody likes to be new or bad at something. But like, everybody is.
No, and
It's okay to be new at something.
I actually, one of my first TikToks ever and like introduction to my channel really was me basically explaining this to people. Like, I am so painfully aware that I am the before image right now of a before and after. You know what I mean? Like, I know I'm going to look back at this in 3 years and be like, oh, you sweet summer child. Oh, you poor innocent soul.
You don't know anything.
You don't know anything yet. But like
it's a good perspective.
But just being aware of that and being patient with yourself. Like, I know I'm new. I know I can't be perfect. I know I can't like know everything at once. I don't know what I don't know. So how am I going to improve on something I don't even know what to improve on because I don't understand the culture, you know? So there's this like patience with yourself you have to practice when you're a creator starting a new project.
Whatever it is.
Knowing that, you know, you are the before image when you first start, and that's okay, because if we were perfect at everything the moment we started, what's even the point? Yeah, and it wouldn't make anything that you do special or cool or fun.
Rose asked a couple questions here.
Rose and I are best friends right now.
Any weird moments on stream? And then she also says, what are your best moments on stream?
Weird moments on stream. Besides that one person who kept coming in and asking me to play Fortnite and spamming Pepe memes, I've had a pretty good time. This isn't like actually a weird moment, but it kind of led to like the Squeekah lore, which I love, which was basically that one day I was playing a game and I got raided, so people came in and another streamer sent their community over to me, which was really sweet. And I was trying to describe what kind of streaming I do. And I said, oh, you know, I think I'm cozy, but maybe like too mentally ill to just be cozy. So like cozy chaotic, let's just say, like, because I have too many feelings, like strong feelings, to be like actually just cozy. Because I'm always heightened. And when one of the chat was like, oh, so you're saying that you're cozy, but the parasites in your head won't let you be, won't let you be. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. I'm like, but I guess that makes you guys the parasites because you're the ones that are distracting me from being cozy. And since then, my chat thought that was the funniest thing ever.
So are they now the parasites?
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah.
So my community is they have coined the term for themselves, and I have to explain this all the time. But they're the parasites.
That's fun because like
it's
you
so
do
fun.
seem like such a wholesome person, and like to be like, why is her fan base called the
No, and I'm literally like,
Parasites?
oh, if I get a follow, I'm like, thank you for joining the parasites. Like, thank you so much. And I think because I'm so wholesome, people are like, it's fine. And she's not actually like being mean or anything. But
hilarious.
so yeah, I have like a parasite twerk emoji or emo. We're gonna like shake the little parasite butt.
You're like the Lady Gaga of Twitch.
I really am.
And she has her like little her monsters.
Monsters. I think
see
Aubrey Plaza has
some
her.
dinosaurs twerking in the
Yeah.
in the chat currently.
Perfect. You have to have a twerk emote. And so my Discord, it's like Squeekah's parasites, and it's a thing, and they love it. They freaking love being my parasites, and they call me the mother, and it's
Our
great.
mother.
The mother host, and they just love it so much. I think it's kind of one of those things where I am grateful for my small amount of improv training, and I think it's just how I naturally am as a person. Is I'm a very yes and person. If you give me these insane ideas, I'm like, okay, well, you're the parasites now. I'm not gonna say no to that.
Yeah.
I was really hoping we would do like pipsqueaks would be cute.
Oh yeah, that's adorable. They didn't let that happen.
No, they were like cute, but we're parasites.
It's like trying to give yourself a nickname. It was never gonna work.
No, yeah, it wasn't. So, parasites has stuck, and that's always a fun thing to try and explain to
Parasite.
new people. So I would say that was probably one of the weirder but funnier, honestly, kind of a dual-sided moment where it's like this is the beginning of the end for me. This is when I knew that community was going to take over.
Well, I could tell you something that I know Derek is probably interested in that you've kind of touched on a little bit. Is like
Derek, ew.
these.
I can't wait to find out what I'm interested in.
What are you interested in?
Well, the stories
Tell me.
behind these games that she's saying. These, what were you describing the genre as? They were like mystery games.
Cozy
I
narrative, puzzle.
I see like
Puzzle,
narrative
puzzle.
story-based games, but usually
No,
puzzle, the
narrative-
puzzle aspect.
Because we've just started, conveniently enough, working with a couple game developers in our Discord on creating a couple different games.
Yeah.
And what we're finding is like the parallels between screenwriting and world building, or it's almost the same thing. So we're working with these game developers, figuring out these games and the scope of games. Like, is it as a shoot 'em up game? Is it a POV game? Is it a story game? And like, we're filmmakers and writer and a director, and we're like, how do we seamlessly meld into the game world and kind of tell our stories and direct our narratives through game engines.
It's kind of like you describing that. It reminds me a lot of like being a dungeon master in D&D.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you are creating a medium in which you tell your story. And I guarantee you that the people that you give the game to are going to find everywhere to go to go against the story you're trying to tell. And
What a great piece of input.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, because I've heard so many times from dungeon masters or DMs about how, and also I also have a friend who's developing a game and talking about when games are play tested or when they're sitting down for a campaign for DMing for D&D, that people always find a way to like get kind of stuck on a certain detail that doesn't actually matter, and it wasn't meant to be a thing, but now it's become a thing, and trying to steer people in the right direction of the story you're going to tell without making them feel too confined. It's a really interesting thing, and I think that balance is what makes a really good game, because I have played games where it's like you really don't have a lot of options. You are basically playing a movie, which is fine, and some people really like that. I think it's more engaging for the audience if they feel like they're getting through the story themselves instead of just being led, like ooh, piece of candy, and they're following that trail that you want to lead them, but they feel like themselves leading them through it.
So like as a world, I guess like if you're looking at it as what's the difference between a screenplay and building a world, or and, you know you're building a world in both scenarios, but the vocabulary people have used to me in Twitch when the like gamers they'll show up and they'll say, "Hey, I see you're a writer and a director and you work in film. Can you help us with world building?" And I would be like, what is world building?
Right.
You know what I mean? And over time that I realized, oh, it's just narratives. We're just looking for stories. We're looking for characters. Like a bunch of game developers will build lots of games and assets and backdrops, but sometimes it's like, how do we spend time focusing on world building?
Right.
You know, and what you're saying here is like, you know, when you build a narrative as a screenplay, it's a single plot line. And we want to run people down that plot line. But what you're saying is they're going to go this way.
Well,
So that needs to be part of the plot too.
It's,
You know?
it's more like this. It's more like you write a screenplay and you shoot it. And instead of having a camera, you now have a free-thinking person as the camera
Right.
to walk through the scene. And so when you're watching a movie, and I think why people like narrative games is because it's like you get to be in a movie, but you are controlling the main character.
you
You can't
are
be
a
like,
movie
you stupid idiot, you should have locked the door behind you. You know what I mean? It's like now you get to be the person who forgets to lock the door behind you.
You're the stupid idiot.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting down to watch a movie, the scenes are chosen, the cuts of the scenes are chosen, the angle at which you are watching the POV happen or whatever, that's chosen for you. When you play through a video game, it's much more interactive than that, right?
So there's really two stories being told. There's the narrative that you've created based on like the idea that I had and I want other people to experience. And then there is the experience of the player playing the game. Like that's
and the
their
freedom to control it.
Yeah, it's almost, I mean, like to go back to basics, choose your own adventure in a way. Like you set up all the puzzle pieces and you decide how you get through.
I like how she described, like, you can set up a game and a narrative for them to go this way, but they're not going to.
Yeah.
They're not gonna like
They're over here looking at their hands like, whoa, look at my hand.
Right.
Look at Kirby's face.
and they'll be like, why is that a weird texture? There must be a secret there, and they'll get really locked onto it, and you're like, it was an accident. Like, you know what I mean?
Can you imagine, like, you know, you watch a scary movie and you're like, don't go in there, don't close that. You imagine a game developer watching all these people play their game.
It's
You're like,
literally
don't
like
go
that.
that way.
No,
Go
literally.
you're going the wrong way.
It is exactly like that. And as someone who's again, like I have a friend who's developing a game, and watching him make the game, he's like, there's so many things during the playtest experience I never considered people would do. He talked about like the way that his characters move gave certain people like motion sickness. We had to like control that, and he wanted certain people to see this at a specific time, but didn't want it to feel like, you know, you don't want them to feel like they're on a conveyor belt. Because then why wouldn't they just watch a movie, right?
And one of
You
the
want
la-
them to feel like they have interaction. So
It is strange because there's a thing I don't think about, and some of them are similar, but like the last couple games that we were looking at that we were building on the Discord, one of them was like, let's unify the color palette. There's too many colors.
Yeah.
Like let's add what they're called in films, like a lookup table, a LUT over it, so it all.
Oh, that's what LUT stands for? Well, I knew LUT, but I'm like, what the heck?
And it just unifies
know,
all the
I thought it was
colors.
like
And it's
lots, like-
let's find a nice unified palette, and then it's like, well, what are the colors in that unified palette?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, then let's do some color theory research to figure out exactly so let's look at other games and see what their colors are, and then unify the colors. And another one was, the game is like a POV thing where you're looking through a flashlight. And I was like, the flashlight looks like this. Can we kind of make it like a little ovular? And then like instead of a hard edge, can we like make soft edge? Because it was kind of uncomfortable in my.
It looked like a
God.
clean spotlight.
Yeah, and it was kind of uncomfortable to look at for a long period
It's
of
like
time.
another thing that I think gets overlooked a lot in games, and is, you know, it's not part of the writing aspect, but how lighting affects the environment and how the environment is interactable, especially with platformer games. Like I grew up with, I'm sure a lot of us grew up with, you know, Mario games, and there's the background and there's the things on the foreground you can interact with. And a lot of people have taken that and done their own version of it. And I'm recently started playing a game called Animal Well that was created by Donkey. He's a very famous video game YouTuber, is very silly video game content. I don't know his legal name. And something that I love about that game, and it's just a platformer, so there's really not too much story to it. But something that I love about that game is the attention to detail of the way that when your character jumps, it hits these little vines and the vines move, or there's like a a string hanging down with a candle on it, and if you accidentally bump that candle, it actually changes the lighting of the game. And it's things like that that you'd think, yeah, of course, obviously, that's how physics work and whatever. But in a lot of games, you jump and you don't actually hit the candle because it's kind of in the background. It's not interactable. And so I love
Is interactable the word?
interactable.
And what game?
I'm not sure if you're telling me.
Animal well. I don't know. It's you can interact with it.
I just
It's
thought it might be
interactable?
interactive.
Interactive?
I thought maybe interactable was a gaming term I don't know yet. Sorry.
Interactive?
I didn't mean to.
Interactable, interactive. There you
I
go.
thought you were schooling me. Maybe you are.
No.
Maybe you are.
No, I think you just taught me that it's interactive.
No, on the stream here, the word I use all the time is dynamicism.
No, that's not a word.
No.
Oh.
I think it's dynamicity. Dynamicity.
I do it all the time.
It's cool. I'm borrowing it. Interactable and
Interactive.
dynamicism. You need interactable dynamicism.
My husband all the time is like, "How have you gone this long with saying that word and no one's corrected you before?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
Well, you say it in a
people don't
way
listen.
that maybe you were schooling me.
No, it's interactive. Is what I meant to say.
Interactable. I got you.
But you are able to interact with it. So in a way,
It
am
is
I wrong?
interactable. No.
The English language is constantly changing.
You have a very you have a dynamic.
I appreciate that.
I did end up coming up with a game. I don't know.
Do you want to play a game? I want to talk to.
If you want
I want
to,
to talk to
let you know.
her a little bit about acting because you do have the
Let's do it.
the BFS A.
Close. So close. We'll get it. We'll get it
Sorry.
before the end of the podcast.
Yeah. Let me see. Rosie was gonna ask a question, but then she said she kind of forgot the note. She's trying to come up with questions, and she's like, "I'm trying to come up with
You're so
questions."
cute.
Thank you, Rose, for participating and listening. If you
so
feel
nice.
if you have a question, let us know. But don't feel pressure like you have to
feel
come up
pressure.
with questions.
We're just glad you're here.
But I do want to talk a little bit about acting. Is the game you're playing on the subject of gaming?
Yes.
Let's go ahead and do that then, and then we can talk a little bit more about.
If you want to. All right. So the idea is that I could describe a character from a story-driven game without mentioning the name or game title, and then you would have to guess who from the game I am like describing. I don't know. Like it's kind of testing your game knowledge in a vague way.
I can definitely try.
You want to try?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just give the first one a try. This is a pretty like mainstream story-driven game.
Rose, if you know this answer, answer it in the chat.
Yeah.
I can't see your answer, so it's a race.
I'm gonna give you a few clues at a time, and if you don't get it, I'll just keep going.
Okay.
This survivor carries more weight than their backpack suggests. They've seen the world fall apart
Tomb Raider.
and have not yet
I don't know any game.
and have adapted to survive, whether by stealth, force, or sheer determination. While they try to hold on to their humanity, they have learned that trust is a dangerous gamble. Their clothes are practical, nothing flashy, just what's needed to make it another day.
Practical clothes, backpack, doesn't trust anybody.
Honestly, I know this
what's the
is
genre?
probably not the game.
It's a very mainstream story-driven game.
I know that this is not the game, but you said something about like the backpack being more weight than, yeah. I was thinking, oh my God, what is that game called? It's with Norman Reedus. You know what I'm talking
Death
about?
Stranding.
Death Stranding.
Yeah, it's a
yes.
great guess,
I know, because I was
but-
like, because he carries the freaking baby on his back. But I know it's like, that's not mainstream enough, probably what you're talking about. What is a famous, like,
Death Stranding.
I will say this has
Stranding.
been adapted into a hit series on HBO Max.
Well, that should narrow it down.
why do I want to say Sonic the Hedgehog now? That's not even on HBO.
Is it
I'm like,
not?
Sonic
What
the
was that
Hedgehog
on?
has a
With,
backpack.
is it This Is Us?
Oh, you're getting close?
The Last of Us.
Last of Us. I was so close.
Ellie
I
from
win
The
that
Last of Us.
round.
You
I
do, you
win
do.
that round.
I'm very surprised. Okay,
Cute.
this
That's
one's
because I know films. He mentioned shows on HBO Max
Yeah,
based
you're
on
like-
video games. It's like, oh, now we're talking.
all right. This is more of like a cozy game, so I think this might be more of your.
Rose guessed the answer to The Last of Us.
Oh, she did. Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. Oh, this is fun. All right.
All right.
A soft-hearted farmer traded city life for a quiet.
Stardew Valley.
Okay.
What was it?
Was that right?
It is. It's true. Yes.
What is it?
Stardew Valley.
Okay, we'll give Rose a chance to come up with the answer. too.
Sorry. I'll be quiet next time.
Okay. This is we're trying to guess the character in the game as well. So, a world-class treasure hunter with a sharp tongue and an even sharper aim. They have a habit of running into ancient traps, double-crossing thieves, and long-lost secrets. Their outfit is rugged but iconic, practical enough for climbing and running, but cool enough to make archaeology.
Indiana Jones.
Lara Croft.
So close, y'all. So close. Does Rose have an answer?
Subway Surfer. Just kidding.
She's still mad.
No,
She didn't get Last of Us first.
no, it's okay.
Oh,
Subway Surfer?
I was making a joke.
It's Nathan Drake from Uncharted.
Uncharted. I've never played Uncharted. Dang.
No, we had no guesses for that.
Y'all want to do
Lord
one more?
Yeah, let's do another one.
Okay. Okay. This is another like cozy game. Despite being small and round, this character is a true adventurer. They roll through life with endless.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
So very close, but not quite. They roll through life with endless enthusiasm, always ready to lend a helping hand. Whether they're baking cakes, floating through dreamlands, or making new friends, their look is iconic. Simple, bright, pink, and instantly recognizable. Kirby, yeah. Fantastic. Yeah.
The Stardew Valley one is very close to home for me because it's one of my special interests.
Oh, yeah?
Stardew Valley is so fun because it starts off like you're a farmer going or city folk going to a farm, and you develop these relationships with the people in the game and uncover their story, and it's kind of like dating sim because you can marry people, but there's also like magic, and it's so good. And this game was created by a single developer named Concerned Ape. One man made this game, and he has now got to be like insanely rich because it has this cult following, and I am part of it. And I have like the music that he created for the game. He created all the music, like everything. It's so phenomenal what he did. It's so good. Yes.
I'm familiar with Stardew Valley. I didn't realize.
And I have like all the records, like vinyl print of his music, and like handbook, because you need to have the Stardew Wikipedia to like get through the game, because certain fish are only available during certain times if you want to get them. Anyways, I love it. So yeah, I was like very excited about that one.
Very intense.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm sure everybody knows Stardew Valley, but I'll put it in the Discord anyway.
Put it in there.
It kind of created the farming, like it really pushed the farming cozy game.
So it's getting close to 12:30. Do you have a hard out here?
No.
For another 15 minutes or so, just to get through the game and talk a little bit about acting, and we can be done. Let's go ahead and do the other game. So here's the thing that we've done on the chat, and everybody seems to really love it. So I thought we would do it on the podcast. And it has a very severe name, and it's called Exquisite Cadaver
Okay.
or Exquisite Corpse, whichever one you want to call it.
I like Cadaver.
Exquisite Cadaver. Okay, and it's like a surrealist Dadaism game that they used to play in coffee shops in the 60s.
Oh.
So the idea is that you take an image like this, and we're going to cut it in half into two pieces. And I'm going to draw the bottom half of a face, just real fast. So like the tip of a nose, a mouth, maybe the bottom of an ear, a neck and shoulders, and then you're going to draw like the bridge of the nose, the eyes, the hair, and the top.
Without seeing your side.
Correct.
Okay.
And then we only reveal the image.
What is Derek doing?
I'm observing and modding.
Great.
Derek's going to be our Simon Cowell. But
That's
we brought a couple of sheets of paper. We can do
Great.
the other one.
It's funny that you do. I walk.
So I don't want you to.
But
I'm
it's
gonna-
funny that you do like
good.
quick draws for your art streams, because I have a channel point redeem on my channel that's called Squeekah Doodles.
I'm gonna put a thing right here to show us where the sides of the face.
I love it. That's for the sides. Got it. Where my channel can redeem it and just give me a random thing to draw. And the idea is it's supposed to be quick. It's supposed to not be great. But turns out I'm really bad at drawing things from memory. Even though I have like
That's very
artistic
normal.
And it's very normal. And so basically it's my way of laughing at that and letting people just go. They had me draw a raccoon, and I forgot how a raccoon looks. It was quite embarrassing. You think you know
Funny how that
these things.
works.
You think you know.
Well, they had a section on his art corner where they were reviewing and also tiering Renaissance paintings of pets. And I learned from Gabe that the reason they all look a little blurred is because animals weren't around often, or they wouldn't stay still for a drawing. And
Well,
so
they would
there's-
say, "Hey, I have a pet cat, and I would like you to put a picture of my cat in the portrait." And the artist would be like, "I've never pet a cat, and I've never seen a cat." And they'd be like, the guy would be like, "Here, look at my cat." And I just drew the bottom of the ear.
Oh boy. Okay.
You don't have to follow. Like, do your own thing. You don't have to.
Well, I want to just try to get it right first, and then we can fuck around and find out. Right?
Exactly.
Oh, she's got microbladed eyebrows. This is great. Yeah, look at that.
Look at that. I love that choice.
Yeah, that's
It's
fashion.
gonna be a really good face. We'll do them on stream, and it's funny because the person who draws the bottom half of the face will be on one side of the planet, and the person who draws the top half of the will be on the other side of the planet, and then we open it up on Twitch together, and everybody gets to see how the drawing came together.
Give her curly hair.
And it's fun because some guys will they'll draw it with a sheet of paper and a pencil, and they'll take a picture of it and post it on the Discord, and the other person who's doing the top half will like paint it in Photoshop, and then when you put them together, like they're
Oh, one of my favorite things is getting fan art. I'll have like moments in my streams where a very silly character will come up, and I have a couple people that are will sketch or doodle the art, and it's like the biggest compliment. I love it. It's like my love language.
Oh, hi Ray Ray, welcome to the chat.
Ray, that's one of my best streaming friends.
Is that who it is?
Yeah, she's from Portugal. She's my mod now.
Hi Ray Ray, thanks for coming to say hello.
God, Ray Ray's here.
Well, now we gotta go long because Ray Ray just showed up.
Ray Ray, Ray Ray, what time is it where you are right now? I'm gonna guess it's like pretty late. Pretty late, probably.
Okay, you're putting too much time into this drawing. We should have given you a time limit. I didn't realize you were going to overachieve.
Well, look at her overachieving too.
I can't wait.
That's a great top half of a face.
She's like, oh my god, I don't know if I can pull
Oh wait,
this off.
I'm gonna give her a headband.
Ray Ray says it is 8:32 p.m.
8:30. Oh, did I get Ray Ray's here? Ray
Where is
Ray's
she at?
my
Where are you at, Ray Ray?
Portugal. Yeah. Okay. This is my
Wow.
top half.
All right.
Oh wow, that's great.
No, open it up. Point
Oh,
it to the
okay.
camera. I got it zoomed in on you.
Ready?
Open it up. Let's see the reveal.
Wait, the nose is lined up really well.
Dude, it's amazing.
Wow. Oh my
It
God.
is
That's
really
fantastic.
beautiful.
Yeah. This is how I feel I look like when I wake up in the morning.
We really nailed that.
Yeah.
Good job, team.
That was really good. Wait, we should always collab. This is great.
Ray Ray says that they saw your post on TikTok.
Oh yeah.
And beautiful.
Look at this drawing. That was fun. I'm gonna put it in the streaming scribbles part of the Discord.
Ray Ray was one of the people that
Will you
likes
sign
to
it?
draw oh, of course, loves to draw little moments from our stream. And there's been many cursed people we've.
Oh, Ray Ray, are you an artist? Mm-hmm. She might like the community over here.
And Ray Ray, do you draw parasites as well?
Rose is also an artist. She's in art school too, so.
But that's kind of one of the fun things about streaming and about creating video games that I wanted to mention is it takes so many different types of creativity and so many different types of art.
That's what I like
Right?
about film, you
Like-
know, and the connection between film and gaming is.
It's a Venn diagram that's almost a circle.
Yeah, I didn't realize so much until recently that they're the same thing.
I think my dream would be that this,
You know the meme where he's pointing at the image, like what's the difference, and like it's
it's the same image. Yeah. But I think the dream would be for streaming that I would eventually get to do voice acting or something like that. You know, that it would open that sort of
It'd be cool if we can make you the main character. Like, just have a little Squeekah walking around and like finding clues.
yeah.
And just build.
Oh my
it.
God, I've been my own Nancy Drew. The Nancy Drew games are funny because she's supposed to be 16, but she's clearly voiced by like someone like postmenopausal, and it's just kind of hilarious that the voice acting for that game.
I think she's got to be like a big like a pupa, is that what it's called, where she's like really cute from the top half, but the bottom half is like a grub worm, and then she's got all these little parasite grub worms.
That's
that,
me.
like carry
Yeah,
her
that's
around.
me. There you
So like
go.
when you meet the game, it's like, oh yeah, I'm Squeekah, and you
my
only
God,
see
so
her up here,
cute.
right? And then it was like,
And then
okay,
it's like-
let's go to level 1, and then when you pull out, it's like bump
Yeah.
Squeekah, and then you zoom back in for 2. So like, and then
I
you zoom out, it's like,
transform into
Pardon
the
me,
mother.
But is it kind of like this, perhaps?
very similar.
That's the idea for the new game.
And it could twerk.
It could twerk. I can't, but it could. So it'd be great.
Ray Ray, if you have any questions for
Now's your time, Ray Ray.
Squeekah,
I'm not
it's
answering
the
any
time.
questions ever again.
oh, well, there's the twerking parasite.
My brother actually made that
The
email.
debut. Is it? Look, it's on my face. I don't know if you can see the stream, but it's my eyes.
I love the emote.
It's my eyes.
Very nice.
So I would like to talk a little bit about and we don't want to spend too much time on it because I know it might not be quite as light and fluffy as the gaming subjects, but a little bit about the acting
Yeah.
stuff and like things I like to kind of get into about art is like we have artists in the community like Rose or Ray who maybe aren't necessarily actors.
Yeah.
But like maybe the parallels between like acting is a creative, self-expressive art form and kind of like how you get into that. For example, like if someone were to give you a script and you needed to prepare for a character, or if somebody was giving you direction on set or in a play, like how do you receive direction or how do you go about like preparing for a character, and then maybe a little bit about how you apply those tools maybe.
Yeah, so I have a very interesting background with acting, in fact, because I grew up with my hobby being singing. So I was in high school. Sorry, just a little bit of backstory. I was in high school. Well, okay, maybe that's not the backstory. The backstory was when I was in high school, I was in show choir. So like think Glee. And I would
Got it.
I would audition for the musicals only because I was a singer first and really had no acting experience. And then I joined college and I was an economics major because I wanted to do something that would make me money and
The backup plan.
right. But I never wanted to be an actor. In fact, it was never something that I wanted to do. And my parents, again, with Twitch streaming, they were like, why aren't you pursuing something that you love? Like,
Well,
we never
we're
had
great
that
parents.
opportunity
Yeah.
to do that.
I heard
And
nothing. I've heard like just a couple things about your parents, and it's the coolest.
yeah, they're the coolest people. But they were like, we never had the opportunity. They had me super young, and they always had to give up anything they wanted to do to make ends meet for our family. And so they're like, you have the opportunity that we didn't have to pursue your passion. Why are you choosing economics? And I'm like, because I'm so risk averse. So the idea of pursuing something like that would be scary. And I didn't have any acting training. And so finally I met some friends that were musical theater majors, and they were like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. You really should be in like a performing major. So I did musical theater and found out I can't dance. What a way to find out. I took tap, jazz, and ballet, and that was mostly it. But I also took my very first acting class.
So this was in
I was a
high school.
freshman in college.
In
when I
college,
took my
you took your first acting
class. And the way that my school works is that you have a bunch of underclassmen who are in this acting major, and then 10 people make it in the major. After you do 2 auditions your sophomore year, and then junior year you start the BFA program. 10 people make it in out of the hundreds who start off. I was like, okay, whatever, it's probably not for me. But I really enjoyed my acting class, and I found that I had a real knack for it because it combined everything that I really liked, which was psychology and a way for me to use this feeling that I feel. I feel everything very deeply, and I didn't have an outlet for it. And so it kind of gave me an outlet for that. And I remember just feeling like such an imposter. And I stayed after class one day to get help with a monologue. And my teacher was like, if you leave this class with one piece of knowledge, I want you to like look around and see who's here right now asking for help. Who's the one that's working after hours to like get help? It's like you deserve to be here. Like you are working hard and you deserve to be here. And like besides talent, like you're driven, and that's like a really hard
It's
thing.
so nice that it's kind of making me emotional. It's nice to have like acknowledgement from someone who seems like a superior.
Yeah,
You know what I
totally.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, cause there's a time in my life where I was talking about recently. I talk about it all the time because it changed my life direction. Where I always had big feelings, like you're saying, and I was drawing comic book characters, and I was listening to the darkest music and wearing all black and just like hated everyone. But I'm drawing Spider-Man. And I like literally one day on my desk I had like all these like metal, dark, industrial, whatever kind of music CDs and stuff over here. And over here I had like my little comic books I was drawing, and a teacher put her hand on my shoulder and she was like, like these artists are putting themselves into their work. Like they're taking out their big feels on the art. And you're not doing that. You're drawing comic books.
You're
where I
like
could see
giving a
feel.
very filtered version of yourself and experiencing your true life.
Dude, like I was like, oh my God, like I went and looked at every painting.
together.
And like, oh my God, all these paintings are about emotions. All these songs are about emotions. And I was like, I think I have to either like start writing these comics or start thinking about like self-expression through
Yeah.
art, And it was like one of those moments, like you're saying, where I see you and you belong here.
Yeah.
It's such a
Oh God, it's such a good message. And I think we'll get a little bit further into like how that's affected my streaming community in a second. But I fell in love with acting, and I was like, wait, I don't want to do musical theater. I want to do acting because like this feels like it takes the
It's not a huge leap either, you know. At least you don't have to dance.
yeah. It takes the best parts of myself and puts them in it, like there's a place for these things that I love.
Yeah, you're kind of already doing it, and this is just
I
a way
am.
for people to see it.
Yeah, and so I did another
and
year of
that's like-
acting, and
Not to pull too big of a thread, but that's what people say about streaming.
yeah.
I just want to see you do what you're already doing and already good at. Just let us observe it, and like finding those venues
Yeah.
to do that. It's very cool that you found that. You know.
So yeah, I was with in my classes with people who had literally been acting since they were 5. They were like Wendy in her production of Peter Pan, and I'm like, I had my first acting class last semester, and I did it, and I was one of the 10 that made the cut, and it was the imposter syndrome was so real, but I think what I brought to the table and what I was told a lot of times was that my acting style is very much like genuine. Like I never felt like I was putting on a character, almost sometimes to a fault. I did have a hard time creating bigger, more eccentric characters because I am so unapologetically myself. But there was such a truthfulness to the characters that I brought, which is why I wanted to transfer to film, because the theatricalness of the acting was not what I enjoyed. It wasn't the presentation. It was the nirvana almost of truly experiencing what a character is experiencing and to like get to live another story. And that kind of also goes hand in hand with video games, not to be like too cheesy about it, but you are the character in these stories and you're playing through these characters.
There's a similar like catharsis
Yeah,
in
exactly.
gaming that's is so surprising from the outside, especially like I create films. I'm a director. I'm a fine artist. And then you play a game and it's like, why am I weeping? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's so
exactly.
strange how like
I just want to live like all these lives, and I would love to say that I'm an artist because I want to bring a platform to people, and I think I'm actually doing that more with my streams than I ever did with acting. But I definitely did it for the catharsis and the feeling of like it just felt good to like analyze a text and to bring a character to life and to feel what they were feeling and to get to live vicariously through them and play that imagination, like
No, it's
my
like-
imagination world.
like these big feelings that you feel bad about or maybe of hindering. They're like, no, use those here.
Yeah.
Like apply that here. Just how is this person feeling? And then show me through your feelings. And it's like, oh, so this is a superpower.
Yeah, it feels like a superpower. And
Rose says art is like therapy, and like
Uh-huh.
how music and acting and singing and movie making, it's
sure.
like taking all of your feelings and into what you love doing.
yeah, that's exactly what it was for me. It was definitely my therapy. But then I graduated, and my therapy.
Here comes the
became-
real world. Yeah.
Yes.
And your therapy
I
became
graduated-
therapy?
Well, I graduated in December of 2019, and I moved to, I had been in LA for 5 months. I did my last semester living in LA, and then the pandemic hit, obviously. We were all there for that, and there was actor strikes, and it just felt like it just never felt like a good time.
Yeah.
Which is like a big push why this last year I wanted to do streaming, because I wanted to have some sort of brand or platform for myself. There was a thought in my head where if this takes off, then it could help my acting career. But then I started doing it and I realized, wait, this is kind of what I love about acting, but without the
Overhead.
endless self-tapes and the,
Yeah, I had such a similar experience.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it just felt like, oh, this is the best part of me. I get to do voice acting for the characters when I want to and get silly and goofy. And I think my chat really likes that. And I get to be entertaining, but I'm not trying to be entertaining necessarily. I'm just kind of thinking when I think out loud. And Derek can probably testify as someone who's worked with me that I just am wholesome, but the things I say sometimes, I'm like, it is unhinged or just what wacky world are you living in your head?
The phrase that we always use for you is adorkable.
Adorkable, yeah, very
When
adorkable.
when you're not around, what we say behind your back.
Right. Well, that's different. But I've heard I'm adorkable.
Yeah.
Interactable,
Adorkable.
dorkable,
Yes.
lots of dynamicism.
Dynamicism, yes, for sure. Oh man, I
Feels like the choices that we've made in the present day, at least like for us sitting around at the table right now, has been a result of getting around gatekeeping. Because I also came to LA with thinking I want to act. And I really got tired of like waiting for somebody else to tell me that I could. And aside from essentially rehearsing Shakespearean monologues and performing them to anybody who was at the park, they were doing some sort of like, or doing some sort of like
Standing on a box.
avant-garde performance piece in public. That's why I went to writing. I was like, well, nobody can take pencil and paper away from me.
Right.
And nothing's going to stop me from that. It seems like Twitch and YouTube channels really allow us to broadcast ourselves.
Be our own
in the time-
boss.
Be our
Create our own
boss
platform.
in the time that we want. And they don't hinder self-expression in the way that an industry based on entertainment will.
Yeah. I agree with that.
You could just turn the camera on and start doing your thing, and all of a sudden, you might have an audience. It's like you might be in LA for 10 years and like haven't had the opportunity to act in front of anyone, and you're stuck doing monologues in your bedroom, and it's like nobody's seeing them.
Yeah.
If you had a Twitch camera streaming, you could be doing monologues in front of large groups of people.
And I think we've, as a society, moved towards being interested by personalities as well. I mean, live streaming on TikTok has become a huge thing. I mean, people get so famous off of just being live streamers. I say TikTok specifically over Twitch because I just feel like the discoverability on TikTok is better.
Do you
People are
spend more time on TikTok than Twitch?
I spend too much time on TikTok. Yes, I do.
Streaming?
No, I did stream for a little bit on there. I got weird about it when the whole TikTok ban thing happened. I was just like, feels like a toxic ex. I just like need to set a boundary with you.
Yeah, you don't want to have infrastructure there and then that not exist tomorrow.
Yeah, and I just the TikTok thing is so strange because it brings a bigger audience and it definitely helps with discoverability, but people are in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, watching for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm just now realizing there is a really great parallel between, like what you said, people are coming for the personalities. And like, oh, that's what reality TV was. It might be performative, but it certainly wasn't acting. And these people are equally as famous. I mean, we, serve them sometimes. They come in like,
The good thing about this is like, and I've seen a little bit of it like just throughout Hollywood example where it's like you used to a lot of filmmakers or writers or famous people were terrible people. You know what I mean? Because you only saw their art. And now you have social media. You have to get to know these people.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, I don't want to just like somebody who's can direct a film. I want somebody who's like a nice guy that I can spend some time with while they're directing a film, or an actor or a musician. It's like, there's so many talented people, so many ways to get to them. Why support an asshole?
Yeah.
And there's part of Twitch where it's like, some people will just support an asshole or whatever, but it's like part of like, they say separating the artist from the art, and that's kind of sometimes what streaming is. It's like, we're not worried about the art here right now. We want to.
we're actually just in the artist.
Right. And that's kind of an interesting kind of like backwards into entertainment. I want to try to bring some of the thing back because I kind of want to talk a little bit about like your approach to acting. Like maybe like if you have a character, how you prepare to do a scene, how do you bring your emotions to the forefront? How do you kind of apply that in a scene? What are you thinking when you're making your art as an actor? Just kind of like something like that real quick.
Well, there are a lot of schools of method on how to best prepare your character, and I was taught under a Russian teacher who went to Moscow Art Theater, was born in Russia, and then moved to Yale, and then she was intense. But, we were taught like the Stanislavski method, which is a bunch of rules on ways to look at the script, and we have actions and super objectives and muscular tension, muscular freedom, and how you work with the ensemble. And it just kind of breaks it down into
And that's what you find yourself doing?
No, so what I think is interesting is in schooling you learn these like this is kind of the right way to do it, and especially with my teacher, she was very much like this is the right way to do it.
These are the rules.
But the thing that I think is beautiful is that your mind is like a sacred space for you, and so I could do everything she was telling me to do, but I know it works for my brain, and I personally have a very vivid imagination, to my detriment sometimes, because I'd love to just turn my mind off and just like have a good sleep, but I always have vivid dreams, and I'm a very imaginative person. So for me, the way that I approach characters is I need to find out first like what the main kind of like what do they want, Like, why are they talking? What is going on? And honestly, the simpler the answer, the better, because you as a person aren't thinking every day like, well, like theoretically, I'm on this podcast because I don't like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not thinking about that. It's not
Your motivations necessarily.
yeah, if you break it down into actions and objectives and super objectives, it feels very disconnected to humanity for me, but connected to the text. So I can do the text work, I can do all of that. And in fact, I was very good at it. And my colleagues would definitely have me do their text analysis for them because I find it interesting, but I don't find it all that useful. I think that's when a director comes in and is like, hey, I need you to do this. And I use those words that I learned in school to filter out what they're saying and then put it in a way that I can play it. But when it comes to just starting off a character, for me, it's all about I'm imagining myself as that person in this scenario. And how would I, as myself, respond to this?
Yeah.
And then I try and filter those things out. Well, I'm coming from this prejudice. Is this person coming from this prejudice? I'm coming from this background. Is this person coming from this background? And how would that affect how they react to it? But at the end of the day, I don't think I'm a very transformational actor, and I think I'm okay with that. I think I have a very specific vessel that, like, my voice and my look and my hand gestures and all of these things make me so authentically me and so unique in my own way that I do try and put myself in a lot of these scenarios. And if people are looking for me, they're looking for me, and I'm perfect. And if they're not, they're not. It's kind of, again, it's like I love transformational actors, but I'm going to be honest with my experience in LA and just the film industry. They're going to typecast you, and they're going to see you immediately and be like, she can or can't play this role.
They're looking for their own cheat code.
Right.
They're like, we want this kind of person. We're going to find the closest thing to it.
Right. And
not
so
ask it.
I've learned the best thing to do is just to be myself as authentically as I can and be truthful to that experience. And it leads to more like genuine, authentic performances, I feel.
So what I'm hearing here, like, just I always try to take things and kind of apply them in a larger sense to art in general. Like, first, when you went to school, there was a list of ways to act. There was a list of rules to get into the text. And really what you learned is that really it was a rules of way to get to know yourself. And you were saying, you know what, I don't really necessarily need these ways to get to know myself because I'm already pretty sure of who I am and I know what my feelings are. Some people may get into acting and they can't connect to their feelings so easy. And they're like, oh, these objectives and super objectives allow me to find my feelings. But what you're saying is I kind of understood my feelings. And I understood who I was. So your approach to acting wasn't like trying to get to know this character, but being yourself first and then removing the parts of your character your personal character that weren't the fictional character. That's such an interesting way. Like, be yourself first and then remove the parts of you that aren't the character.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever really heard it put like that.
Because that it's so funny that you say that. You're like repeating back to me what I said in a more structured way, which is very helpful. I think I need you all the time. But I think a lot of the acting techniques are to help people who now have a script to know how to handle that and how to act more natural on stage. Because you would think it would be easy to be like
It's
a
hard to
normal
act
person,
natural in front of a camera.
to be a normal person, because you do it every day, and to help you become more normal and more comfortable in that. But I think I had the opposite, where not the opposite, but I found that the rules almost made it feel more robotic.
Yeah.
And and because I'm so already like overthinking and intellectual, despite my interactable vocabulary,
That's dynamicism.
I think it was nice to learn the rules and then break them.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing also from that I hear from a lot of people, like having an epiphany as you kind of come into your own as an artist, is that it's all about self-expression. It's all about you being able to express yourself.
Yeah.
Whether you're acting or you're streaming or you're painting or you're writing, it's all about getting to know yourself better. And a lot of it feels like I'm hiding or I'm diverting or I'm sidetracking where my thoughts are about. But a lot of art is really like just getting to know yourself, being yourself, the most like unique version of yourself, and doing that through your acting or through your streaming or through whatever your art form is. I think a lot of it is just like finding out who you are so you can be who you are fully.
Yeah. I've seen several actors say, like, even if they don't have a character that they fully relate to in the script, they'll be like, there'll be one sentence, find one action that they do that I can relate to, and then use that as the filtering block.
When I'm feeling that I'm starting to stray from that path, there's a Shel Silverstein poem that I really love, and you can look it up. It's called Blue Masks, and I'll let you read it.
Okay.
It's my favorite, and I love it. And it's really just changed my perspective on being myself.
Rose asks, yeah, one last question. Kind of what keeps you motivated day to day? What kind of keeps you staying motivated throughout the day?
Oh, my chat, 100%. Because there's days I don't feel like streaming because I just don't want to put my hair up or do my makeup or get my computer started or whatever. It's just feeling hard. And then I come on and Ray Ray says, hi. And, or, it happens a lot actually where someone's like, I was having a really bad day and I turned on the stream and you made me laugh. And it really turned my day around. And, or I'm going through this really hard thing right now and I really needed this escape. And I realized like it's really, I started streaming for me, but it's become so much more than me. It's become my positive, maybe small, but my positive impact on a small community that I can have the power to make someone's day better, even if I'm not having a great day. Yeah. And that's what keeps me going.
I hear, and that's another thing we kind of get to is like your mental health is part of your toolkit as an artist. Mm-hmm. Your physical health is part of a toolkit as an artist, and your community health is also part of your toolkit as an artist. So you need to make sure that you're taking care of your body, make sure you're taking care of your mind, and making sure you're taking care of and cultivating people you love.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of people like, there's this lie that you have to be alone and depressed and locked in a room to make art and broke and angry. And I think that's not the truth. Over years, people have created art despite their mental health or despite their physical ailments or despite their lack of community. But I think when you have your mental health, you have your physical health, and you're able to focus on those things and you're able to cultivate a healthy community, I think those are paintbrushes to an artist,
You want me to read the Shel Silverstein?
Yeah, you should read it.
Okay, this is Masked by Shel Silverstein. She had blue skin, and so did he. He kept it hid, and so did she. They searched for blue their whole life through, then passed right by and never.
Beautiful. Can she read it one time for us?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This is the Shel Silverstein poem. I should have this memorized. It's not that much, but she had blue skin, and so did he. He kept it hid, and so did she. They searched for blue their whole life through and passed right by and never knew.
Beautiful.
And I put that in the Discord for y'all.
And I love it because it's just, it's so silly. It's such a simple way to put it. But I spent so much of my life pretending to be someone else. And, when it comes to ADHD or like autism, they call it masking. So it's very appropriate for this. But I kept trying to be like other people around me. And when I started learning to be myself, I started finding people that I liked better were attracted to me because
It's very true.
And I think everyone experiences some form of this, especially artistically. But, at middle school, I was friends with a couple girls because I wanted to be popular, and I didn't really enjoy their presence or company, and I didn't understand why they were saying the things they were saying, and I didn't agree with what they were saying, but I wanted to be their friend. And then when I started being myself and opening up and saying my unhinged shit and doing my weird voices in front of people, then people were like, oh, wait, I can do weird voices too. Yeah. And then we would start doing weird voices and being silly and then playing off of each other. And it's like...
I don't need to be in the popular community. I just want to be in my community.
Yeah. And that switch and my frontal cortex fully developing really helped.
I do remember the first time I met you at work, I feel like we started doing bits together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, whatever, who cares? Like, people are going to think I'm weird and then I'm never going to talk to them again, whatever.
Yeah.
But then I find my people and it feels so like, it feels so good when you find someone who thinks the same way you do and enjoys the same things you do. And you can only find that if you are upfront about it.
Yeah, you have to be your authentic self so other people can see that. And when other people are able to see who you are, they can then make a decision to gravitate towards you or away from you.
And maybe that's the encouragement they need to take off their own mask.
Yeah.
And that's like really what I want to give to people. It's like, I want to be the catalyst for people to take their mask off.
And when you say like they are the catalyst, you are the catalyst for them to take your mask off. But the funny thing about these kind of communities is like we're looking in a mirror, like because they're also giving us the same permission structure.
Yeah.
Like by them saying, oh, is that what you're doing? I'm doing it too. And you're like, oh my God, was I doing that? You know what I mean? Like I could do more of that if that's what's working.
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to see. So I'm gonna wind down the podcast. I appreciate you being here so much. If you want to like tell us a little bit about like how to find you, so some of the guys.
So you have a TikTok. It's Squeekah1 because Squeekah was taken. I do post there pretty regularly clips, just funny little memes, things that if you are in the gaming community, you'll probably relate to. And you can find me on Twitch. My name is Squeekah, Squeekah. And I play, like we said, I stream at night, play cozy narrative story-based games. And in the morning, I play long-form games for you to have on the background to do your work from homes or do puzzles, play with your dog, take him for a walk. I don't know, whatever you like to do for fun. Yeah.
Right. And Rose says yes, and she loves it. And Ray asked if that was Amari. And yes, that was Amari. We were talking about that earlier.
Amori, yeah.
And yeah, so what I like to tell everybody is they could be anywhere in the world, but they were here with us, and we appreciate that. If you're having a bad time or conflict in your family or within yourself or within your community, you're having a bad day, a bad week, I want you to remember that you can take all that negative energy and all those bad times and you can harness it into some energy, and you could put that into your gaming, you can put that into your drawing, you could put it into your writing, you can put it into your art. So take it out on art. Don't take it out on yourself. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, Roses. Bye, Ray. Thanks, guys, for hanging out and participating in the chat.
Having a fun chat. Oh yeah.
God, it is Monday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Monday is kind of like my Friday because I usually work the weekends. So I'm like, this is my first day off. It's really nice.
Yeah, and you were, when I was leaving, like you were saying that you didn't know if you were going to have anything to talk about. And I think everybody feels like that. And I feel the same.
I was like, I'm not going to have anything to say.
And then when you get to the end of it, it's like, oh, we could go for another hour,
Oh,
probably.
usually, yeah.
You know?
I love to talk.
And another thing I keep trying to bring it back to, and it just does naturally, is that like it's all the same. Every piece of art, it's all just self-expression. You know what I mean? And like the conversations always naturally go there. So it's like everybody can talk about themselves,
Yeah.
how they express themselves. Like it's usually a pretty easy conversation, you know? And I think that's kind of like the goal here, is just kind of that. You know, because I want artists to be able to listen to the podcast, whether they're a painter or a writer or a game developer, and say, I got something from that, because it's a general subject.
And you know, it's interesting because I think that talking about yourself is seen as very like egotistical and like
There's a
conceited.
time and place.
There is a time and place, but I also know, like, just as a human living through the world, that I've only ever perceived the world through my own lens. So who am I to talk on other people's experiences?
Yeah.
I can't. Like, I can only speak of my own, and it's a way that I relate to people, and I'm aware of this, unfortunately, because I've had a couple people in my life who did appreciate. But like when someone's going through an issue, the way that I relate to them is through my own personal experience. To be like, in my mind, this is like, I can relate to you. This is my way of showing empathy and sympathy for what you're going through. Like, I've experienced a similar issue.
Describing your approach.
And then they're like, you're making it about you. And I'm like, but I'm not. No. This is my way of saying, like, look, like,
This is
I know
exactly how you
feel.
act. I take who I am and I start there, and then I remove the parts of me that aren't
Right.
that. And that's how you said your approach to acting. You know what I mean? I think it's the same thing. Like, it's self-expression. And there's a difference between talking about yourself and expressing yourself. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like talking at someone or communicating with them.
Right.
I had a conversation with the viola player who plays below me. He's a LA symphonic viola player. He's amazing.
Awesome.
And he comes and he lets me borrow viola lines from him for music that I'm working on. And he was saying he started communicating, he started using AI to help him deal with creative criticism, because he would send music to a client and the client would send notes back, and he would be like, you know that feeling when somebody gives you notes?
it's immediate defensive.
And he'd say, so I would take the defensiveness and I would tell it to chat and tell chat to tell it to
Soften it.
yeah, and then he said I would take that and paste it back. And I was like, well, what I've started to notice is like if you're like, you're talking at them, you're giving them an emotional response when all they need is a technical response.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you feel yourself kind of getting into that mode where you're getting upset or angry, it's like, man, this is a client, this is work. I realize it's art, but like, get back to communicating. Because when you're giving constructive criticism, that's maybe not the time to be self-expressive.
It's interesting though, because you know
know?
how we talk about the audience separating the art from the artist. I think the artists themselves removing the art from themselves is also a thing, right? Because when someone critiques your work, doesn't always feel like they're critiquing your work, right? It sometimes feels like they're critiquing you
yeah,
as a
yeah.
person. And I think in a way they kind of
sometimes all the time.
Right,
If you're
because-
doing the artwork, that's how it should feel.
right, because you're putting yourself into it. And if they don't like something about it, you're like, well, you're not liking something about me.
Right.
And so it's very easy to feel that connection to it, which you should, because it is self-expression.
And there's a
right?
huge lesson, like as a person, as an artist, that's helpful. When people give you criticism, it's helpful,
Yeah.
whether good or bad. But you have to realize 50% of criticism is about the person criticizing you. The other 50% is about you, whether
Right.
good or bad. But people are like, this is 100% about me personally. You're like, no, only 50% about is your art. The other 50% is about the critiquer. None of it is about you personally,
Right.
you know? But like learning to like feel that negative anger, that frustration when somebody says, hey, I see your art, but I think you need to change this. Or not only that, I see your personality and I think you need to change this. And for you to be able to be like, thanks
Right.
for that input. I might not take your input, but I appreciate you having a second and seeing me and giving me some input on
I
how
think
I'm
it's-
doing, you know?
I think it's so incredibly important for an artist's mental health to be able to filter what they need from criticism. To be like, this is unhelpful for me. This is actively detrimental. And so let's leave that at the door, and then let's take what I think they're actually trying to say. I think what they're actually trying to say is this. And a lot of people just don't have the bedside manner.
Most people don't.
Most people don't have
It's
the
hard.
bedside manner of how do I give a critique that feels
Constructive.
constructive. And I think, and part of my acting training was how do you give constructive feedback? And so I was trained in constructive feedback in my directing
I
class.
was
focused
too, my
a lot
entire
on
life.
it.
Like, I
It's
started
you don't
young.
say that this is good or bad, you say it's effective or ineffective.
It works or it doesn't work.
Yeah, and you give specific reasons why, and maybe even give a solution. And
There's so much practice.
I'm glad that I learned it, but it is hard to be someone who is very aware of how to give constructive feedback and then not receive it.
And you know, I keep saying art, and it's all the same, whether you're art or a human, but it's like fighting fairly. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to have different points. It's okay to have constructive criticism, you know, but you have to learn how to do it in a way that's constructive.
Right.
And also, like, as an artist or as a person, like being able to hear different kind of criticism and only keep the part that you realize is constructive.
Yeah.
You know, and that's hard.
In acting, I
So
feel like
hard.
I get nothing. I put my tape out into the void and never hear back.
Yeah.
And I've never gotten so much feedback as when I did start streaming, you know? So that's been really cool for me to see the positive, like when I say like some random person is like, I was having a bad day today and this really turned my day around. Like, what? That's crazy to me because like as an actor, I get a role and I think I did a good job and then I never hear back. I don't know if I was second on the list. I don't know if I was 100,000.
Well, go ahead. We're going to start doing a series of short films. So if you come work with us,
Then you can tell me how
Yeah.
bad I
I'll tell you
actually
how
am.
bad you are.
but I mean, I do like to work real closely with an actor, like for the exact reason of giving people the opportunity to express themselves through the art. Because I know in LA, it's like very hard to get the opportunity to act,
Yeah.
to do your thing. Not only that, but like get some direction.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that part of acting is receiving direction, making adjustments, and then going again. And like,
I remember one time I got on set and I got zero direction for the whole movie.
That's the worst.
And I was like, but this is what I'm on. This is what I'm on set for. And they're like, no, you're on set to act, and you
I
did the
love-
scene, and we like it, and that's fine. Like,
Well, when a director is like working with me on how to do something, they're like, "Oh, I love this. Let's," you know, and they usually say something that's not very helpful because they'll be like, can you bring more energy to it? Like, what does that mean? What do you mean? Or can you play it softer? So, and I have to then, again, like we're talking about filtering, like I have to then be like, okay, so what they want for me to do is, like have more of like this action, and like maybe I don't really want this, but I want this in the scene. And so I'm going to play that, like I'm going to play to that.
And hopefully I'll be able to tell whether they like it or not.
Right.
I'll tell you what I do is I use the Ivana Chubbuck method.
Okay, I'm not
where she, and this isn't exactly, but I've kind of derived my own little bit of Jeet Kune Do, my little karate version of it. But I would ask you to have 3 substitutions on hand, like a happy one, a sad one, and then some kind of like weird one, and like just things from your life, 3 moments from your life that are real moments from your life. And let's start there. And like, let's start the scene. Which one of those 3 would you like to start with your?
Yeah.
And you would be like, oh, neither one of the 3 I've got. And be like, oh, we'll find 3. Hold on to those 3. That way you can have these personal moments, and I can say, hey, let's go from 3 to 2 or from 2 to 1. So I'm really shifting you from very personal moments in your life without you having to tell me these personal points in your life.
Yeah.
So I could say, I need you to have 3 substitutions. That way, when I start calling these substitutions, I know what the 3 looks like in this scene. I know what the 2 looks like. I know what 1, and I can kind of help find those moments. Like, okay, now that we know it's 2, let's break that 2, that wild card emotion. Let's break that to 1, 2, and 3, and then let's work with that. And that's usually how I'll try to communicate with an actor. That way, I can get the most personal stuff from them without them having to tell me, I'd be, oh, that number 1, that's too personal. Let's go something a little funnier,
Yeah,
Does
yeah.
that sound like something that would be interested as an actor?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I actually don't typically, and it's one of those things. I don't typically use my real life experiences because for me personally, I found that it almost distracts me. I see why people need it, but like to take the time to be like, hey, let me remember this ex from high school.
What I would say is, if that's your end, well, then I just need you to have 3 colors.
Right.
And I just want to be, as a director, to be able to kind of have some control of what color you're painting with.
Yeah.
And you're saying, oh, I'll give you those 3 colors, but they're from imaginary, fictitious.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's working,
Yeah.
I just would like a way to communicate with an actor 1, 2, and 3. That way I'm not saying, I need you to go bigger, I need you to go smaller.
Right.
And then I hope an actor can say, he's going to come ask me 1, 2, or 3. So if I want to do something, I'm going to put one of my things that I want to do as one of those numbers.
Yeah.
You know
definitely.
what I mean? So that way when I call number 3, you're like, oh, he didn't like that one? That's the one I wanted to do. Well, let me try that. But it's just a way to have a common vocabulary.
Yeah, and it's great because it makes you think about the character in another way, because a lot of it is like, how do I make the director's vision match the script, match what I think a real person would do, right? So it's like, is it viable that they're angry in the scene? And then what does that actually mean? You know what I mean? Like, why would they be angry? And oh, maybe there's harboring some resentment about this thing. And kind of finding a way to make all that happen can make you think about the scene in a different way. And acting is reacting, so it could affect the way that you're the partner you're acting with,
So
It's the same.
what's your favorite kind of notes? Like, what would be your favorite direction? I go, like, I love to get notes from a director like this, or what I would like to hear direction. Like,
Oh, my favorite kind of direction is like when they're like, well, why did you make that choice? And I'm like,
Forces you to think about.
yeah, I'm like, wait, why did I? Like, why would my character grab this thing? And I'm like, I'm not just grabbing my keys because it's on the script, because it's easy to kind of forget that sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
I'm grabbing the keys because I gotta fucking get out of here. And like, I know my keys are on this table, like every day I'd always put them on this table. I always put them on this table, and it's second nature for me to just grab them. I'm not even looking at the keys when I'm grabbing them because I'm already out the door. Like, I am, you know what I mean? It just,
usually when I ask an actor, like, why did you make that choice? It's because I'm not sure if I liked what happened, but I'm also not sure that I may have really liked it. It might have been true, but like when I asked them, like, why did you do that? And if somebody has a reason, I'm like, okay.
basically, like when the director asks me to talk through my reasoning, and then it's that talk. It's like a more colloquial way of deciding the action and the objective. It's like, why am I doing that? And but it's very colloquial. Feels very human. It's like let's world build a little bit here. Let's really like.
I like building the intention out.
The intention,
Yeah.
yes, it's all about intention.
Yeah, and I
that's
think-
really important to me. I hate when the director is like very stuck in a specific way of like, well, this needs to happen this specific way, and then it doesn't do justice to the script or it doesn't enhance anything, but they just want something to be done a specific way, I'll make it happen, but it takes a lot of why. Like, I have to make someone look like they would do this because they want to do it, you know, and it doesn't make sense. Usually it's small things, but at the end of the day, I am trying to bring the director's vision to life, so I'll do what they need me to do and I'll do the best of my ability. But
There's a documentary about a photographer, and sometimes like I'm into film and I love photography, but sometimes like I don't see photography as like the best way for me to express myself sometimes. And I listened to this photographer talk, and the way she talked about photography like really changed my perspective on that. And one of the things she said was she grew up watching street photographers, and it was mostly men or boys out there stealing photos, and people would be mad like, why did you take my picture? Why did you take my picture? And at some point she was like, is that what I need to do as a photographer? I need to go steal these pictures and I'll get in these confrontations. And she was like, but I don't really want to. So she was like, I brought pictures that I've taken, and I would go take a picture of something. And then when somebody asked me a question, or somebody asked another photographer a question and they got in confrontation, and I was thinking, why did you take that picture? If you can't answer that question, don't take the picture.
yeah,
And she
that's
like,
how I feel.
she was like, I'm going in with intentionality. Know that I'm going to bring photos. So if I take a picture of someone and they say, why did you take that picture? I would say, because I'm trying to show your community, and there's reasons part of your community is part of my community. Here's some pictures I took to show you examples of my work. And I love the idea of like, when somebody puts you on the spot, why did you create that?
Yeah, why was that choice?
And you were like, if you don't have the answer, then why are you creating?
And the audience will know. If you
Yeah.
don't know, then the audience isn't going to know.
And I thought that was such a beautiful way. And she was just talking about photography.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I can see how that is a self-expression form for her. When she goes in, like, I can't wait for somebody to ask me why I'm taking a picture so I could tell.
And that's kind of how I feel about acting too. When I make a choice, I'm like, I hope the director asked why I did that, because I have a good answer.
Because you're
and I know
expressing
exactly
yourself.
why. Like,
Yeah.
why this character would do this in this way, and like it's important for them. And I feel like my best performance is everything that I do has an intention and a reason behind it.
You know, and I think a director saying, why did you make that decision, is them seeing something happening and saying, ooh, how can I help them get there?
Right.
Because they're onto something. And like,
Or
if you
maybe
explain
it's
to
a
me
new
where
way you didn't even think about it, and it's like a new way, like a new thought.
she's getting somewhere, like, let me ask her how she's getting there, and then maybe help her get to that spot. All right. Well, okay. Let me see what we got here. Rose says she can understand that. I'm not sure what part. She said, Rose said, finding good constructive feedback on art was so hard for me because no one in my family has done art.
Oh God.
And she says, finding your stream has really helped me with my art and my growth as an artist. Thanks, Rose.
That's so sweet and wholesome.
And
Glad that you're here.
And if you like sweet and wholesome, you should check out Squeekah 1. That was up to TikTok one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, just Squeekah.
Okay, well, me and Derek have to get to some more work before we're out of here.
Yeah, and
Is
actually stream today. So.
if you're out at 2:45?
Oh, I thought Monday was your day out.
Monday? No, I stream Monday through Wednesday, Friday. I'm free
Just not
Monday in the morning.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, so we're actually going to get out of here, Rose. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for the kind words, and I'll see you on the Discord or on the stream this evening. Thanks for participating again.
Bye.